Welcome to Inside Eugene. I'm your host, Marin Stewart. Each episode, we take you behind the scenes of library, recreation, and cultural services to meet the people and programs that make the Eugene community shine. In this special episode, we're talking about something important for the future of Eugene Public Library, the proposed library levy. You'll hear what the last levy made possible, what's being discussed now, and how you can follow along as City Council reviews the proposal. I'm joined today by LRCS Executive Director Josh Bates and Library Director Angela Ocaña. Welcome to you both.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yeah, we really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you.
So just to kick it off, we're gonna start real simple. Let's say I don't know anything about civics. I've never voted before. One, what is a levy? And then tell me what the library levy is specifically.
A levy is they levy additional dollars to support services, and a city can decide what services they want to have additional funding for, and then the voters actually get to choose whether or not they agree with paying for that service. And so a levy is a little bit extra. In other counties within Oregon, it's actually sometimes all of the extra that pays for a service, but it's basically the community coming together and agreeing to fund something on top of the city's general fund.
And so here with this library levy, it's going to be funding additional services. Now, what those additional services are is actually dependent on where we land in regards to the levy. One level of the levy is to maintain the current service portfolio. The second level is to expand and support our 0 to 5 kids in this community by actually working with preschools and other service providers. And that third level is actually developing these sites where folks can engage with materials and pick up materials and drop off those materials in the future.
And if you're like me and you don't remember what you voted for 5 years ago, 77% of people in our community voted for the levy in 2020. And in fact, since 2000, the library's operated with a series of levies, mostly operational. When we built the huge, fabulous, wonderful downtown building 25 years ago, it helped pay for operations of that, and it's continued to do so. If you don't remember what you voted for in 2020, if you were a yes voter, it expanded hours at the branches. It got us additional programs, collections. It expanded hours at the downtown library. So it was the community saying, we love our library. We'd love even more from our library. We'd love to sustain these great services.
Awesome. So we know it's been approved at least once in the past. It passed pretty overwhelmingly, it sounds like you said.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's loved.
Get 3/4 of our community to agree on anything, and I feel like you have a winning service. It makes me so incredibly proud all of the time how the community comes together and says, we love Eugene, we love our library, and 77% during a pandemic, during a weird time, like fills my heart with a lot of joy that folks wanted to support that.
Absolutely. So tell me, why is this coming up again now? Why is the city bringing this levy forward?
Our levy comes up every 5 years, and this levy expires on June 30th. And so you have to talk really early to council. This is a thing that I learned within this job, is that you're constantly talking to council and to folks in the community, whether that's the advisory board or the Foundation and Friends executive boards, and talking about this levy to move forward. You got to do a lot of work beforehand. And so this is just kind of the process to get us onto that May ballot.
And one of the really important things to also note with that is that, as Angela said, historically, the library levy has supported the different functions within the library. So essentially, since the first levy was passed, we've had some sort of library levy in existence that has supported the different operations of our library. So the reason we're bringing it forward now is so that there isn't an interruption in regards to the level of service. We want to make sure that the community has the opportunity to be able to come out and engage with the library levy and say yes or no, so that way we can, if they want to, we can maintain the level of service that we're currently providing and potentially expand to these different other areas.
Can you explain what it means when we say we're proposing this levy to City Council? What is that process of City Council reviewing this look like?
Yeah, it's so much fun. If you've ever gotten involved in local politics, for those folks who are library supporters who have showed up at council, the process that we go through here is that the library determines a certain number of options, and then they bring that to council. City council, the folks that you vote for, they decide, having a holistic view of the city and operations, what feels comfortable for them that they want to move forward. And so council are truly the folks who make a decision, listening to you, whether that's you write letters or emails. They're always trying to talk to their constituents, and then using that, they're trying to guide the decision. And so the three different options that we've put forward, council ultimately, in fact, fairly soon, will make a decision on what they want to see out in the community.
And how could residents, if they're interested, influence this or put their 2 cents in?
I always recommend whatever you feel, talk to your counselors. You can always email them about any city service. You can just connect with them. You can tell them about how the city's going, what you love. I'm sure they hear a lot of what they don't love. And same with the mayor. I think those are conversations independent of the library that you can always just be active, whether that's watching the YouTube videos of city council, sending them an email, sending the council an email. There are so many ways to complete the circle of feedback about how we run city governance.
Stepping back just a little bit, kind of throwing it back to, as you were mentioning, 2020, for people who may not remember, can you remind us what the last library levy was designed to do?
We've talked about how the library's had a levy for almost the last 26 years. There was a little bit of a gap right before 2015 where we didn't have a levy. And so 2015 was really about bringing back services. How do we get back to the hours we had prior to 2015? How do we get back to the level of books? And then 2020 was so weird. We were just trying to maintain what we'd gotten in 2015. We were too stuck to think about expansion. And so really, for the last 10 years, really, we've paid for the branch hours, both at Bethel and Sheldon. Those times have expanded. We added hours to the downtown library. So we went from 113 operational hours to 160. That means that you can visit your branch on an evening or on the weekend. You can come to the downtown library. And then it paid for things like the new Maker Lab, the Maker Outreach Van, added collections, more programming. It increased programming by over a third. And so for 10 years, we've kind of been chugging along with this, trying to get back to what we had pre-2015.
And so the current level of service that you experience in the library is actually directly related to the library levy that is currently in existence. And so it's important to just remember that when we're thinking about what is the level of service that you can expect from the library, the way that our library is funded is through both the general fund, but also through a library levy with some also donations as well. So I just wanted to remind folks about that. I want to let folks know, I learned to read in this library, and I wouldn't have been able to learn how to read in the Eugene Public Library had it not been for the advocacy and the support of this community that ensured access for me and for future generations and generations prior.
People in our community, again, I'll say it time and time again, we're a community that cares, and we're a community that cares about our library.
I love the passion for it. Yeah, I love the happiness and the passion I always hear when it comes to the library. It's awesome. What would the community notice as an upgrade or a change to services if the coming levy passes?
It's really a intensive, long process of being thoughtful about how we want to spend taxpayer dollars. And so for this, we wanted to build a levy that was going where we were going in the future. So everything we brought forward, we know we want to do at some point. Maybe it's not today, maybe it's not tomorrow, maybe it's a decade from now, but we know that these are in alignment with where we want to go. And my dream for the library is that we have access to materials and services in every neighborhood in Eugene. Like, that is my dream. If I retire and I've achieved that, then I think it's been the best impact for the community, is to be able to go out with your kids, walk 5 minutes, and there's something there for you that the library, or I would say library recreation and cultural services, provides. So this levy options that we have that council is deciding on right now pull from pieces of where strategically we think we're going in the future. The first part is just, again, maintain. What do we have? What do we need to move forward? How do we keep the hours, the collection that we have, the programs we have, but also recognizing that for us, we actually see the community needing more is this digital literacy piece. That folks, as we talk more and more about artificial intelligence, are confused about the impact that it has. Am I talking to a robot on the other side? Am I getting scam emails? There's not all this digital literacy, and the world seems to be moving so quickly. So for us, we really wanted to ground this, maintain, and this focus really about closing this digital literacy gap so you feel more informed about how something like artificial intelligence is going to impact your life and the world around you. So that's kind of where we start. Then we thought about what is the biggest impact. We took a survey in 2023. Thank you if you ended up taking it. So this survey really guided us on some of the things we want to do next, which is the expansion of youth services. And due to the pandemic and having everybody be closed in, the library also got a little insular. And so while we still do outreach, we really want to focus on Eugene's youngest learners. If you're 0 to 5, we want to go to where you are: preschools, kindergartens, daycares. And this would bring back our Storytime to Go program, which really sends those advocates who are now trained out back into the community with materials so that they're building relationships with kids. They're bringing the love of the library. And this really touches on our commitment to getting every kid in Eugene who goes to school here, whether you're at Bethel, you're at 4J, you go to a charter school, you're a homeschool, to get you a library card, because having a library card is a critical step to success. And so that's where we're building out this middle piece of like, how can we do just a little bit more within our resources? How can we make the biggest impact for the least amount of money invested? And we really think sending somebody, building relationships, working with United Way, working with Lane County, trying to figure out how we can help improve reading scores and just be one piece of that puzzle. And maybe it doesn't make the package now, but maybe it makes it down the road, is that look at, how do I get services into your library? A branch library is very expensive. You own the building, the people, the parking lot. What we're thinking about is how to be innovative, but also fiscally responsible. And so if you ever come to the downtown library, there's a book vending machine that we did in partnership with the Lane County Black Student Success Program, and they're kind of similar. In these ones, you would scan your library card. You'd be able to pick up holds. You'd be able to browse what's in the machine. You're like, ooh, cool. I want this really awesome book by, I don't know, Marie Kondo. I'm going to clean my house, whatever it is. And you push a few buttons and out drops your book or your holds, whatever it is. And then you can return to the machine and return your materials. So it's a way to get books, DVDs, potentially library of things, your holds from the downtown library, while you're going to pick up your groceries or you're popping over to the park with your family. Something that surprises and delights you is kind of what we look for in our service model. How can we give you what you expect and then go a little beyond?
Angela said it really beautifully around how we're hoping to have services in every part of Eugene, right? So it's not that folks have to go to one of the branch libraries or downtown Eugene in order to receive resources, that they're able to go to their local supermarket and maybe they'll have one of these machines. Maybe it's while they're picking or dropping off their kids at schools, there's one of these machines. It's really about expanding our footprint in the most efficient and cost conscious way possible. And so in being able to bring services through these potential 24-hour library stations, it will allow us to expand our footprint without having to expand staff. And then also on top of that, it will allow for us to sort of see where utilization is happening across our community in even a more dedicated way. If you look at Churchill right now, Churchill has the least amount of library, recreation, and cultural services of anywhere here in our community. And while a branch library is extremely expensive to build, a recreation center is expensive to build, being able to maybe start with one of these service stations is a good way to be able to start bringing those services directly to folks in Churchill and other parts of our community. So when we're thinking about something like expanding the footprint of the library, it's important to think about the people that are living here in our community. So while some folks may take it for granted that they can go stream a movie or they can go buy a book, right? There's many folks here in this community that actually don't have the access to those type of resources. You actually see that in Lane County, I think it's over 40% of folks are asset limited and income constrained and employed. And thus that means almost half of our community here in Eugene actually may not have those resources to go buy a book, to purchase a new streaming platform. And so when we're trying to bring resources to our community, we're thinking about that. If we're able to put a service station 3 or 4 blocks from someone's house, maybe that's saving them the gas from coming downtown. Maybe that's saving them the time because they have 2 jobs. So what we're really trying to do, once again, is ensure that regardless of who you are or where you live in this community, you're able to access the resources of the library.
I love the very clear thoughtfulness, both financially and, based on community responses and community needs that's gone into this. So it sounds like a lot of work on both of your parts and a lot of others in this space. So how much will this levy or would this levy cost the average household?
Because packages right now, these options are still sitting with council, there's a variable amount of money to maintain the same level of services that we have in the first option, which would just be a renewal of the previous levies. Again, that we started in 2015, did again in 2020. If we were to do that again, it's $43 is the yearly cost. We have one of the lowest levy costs for a library throughout Oregon. Everything you've kind of grown used to is $43. When we talk about expanding early literacy, really getting out there to preschools, kindergartens, daycares, creating these book areas for those kids, specifically bringing back our Storytime to Go program, that's at $49 for the year. So you're looking at the level where you're going from like $3.50 a month to $4 a month. And then when we look at expansion of these 24-hour library kiosks that we may place, the idea is to, in the third option, to place 3 of them. And so those might change. It might be a little variable, anywhere from $50 to $56 a year, depending on which option council does. And so there's kind of like this very low, but still it's a cost. And we know that people are tightening their belts. We know they're thinking about things in a different way. But we really think that price point's where folks can say, yes, this is for my household. Yes, this is the best for our community. And so we're being really conscious and intentional about each fiscal dollar that it would cost somebody. And I think council's doing the same thing. We do it with a lot of intentionality for folks like me who live in this community, who open up their wallets, who support the library.
Give us a sense of who uses the library today. What does that usage really look like across the community, across each of the branches?
Yeah, so about 900,000, approximately a little under 900,000 people use the library every single year. That's for all 3 locations. There is a wide distribution of who ends up using the library. We found this out in our 2023 survey, but also the makeup of our advisory board, our friends board, our foundation board. These are folks who don't have kids, might be single, young folks. We have 3 youth members on our advisory board. We have UO students. We have folks in our community who are experiencing houselessness. There's a variety of folks who come in who are $1 million donors to the library. There are city staff. And so we make up this wide variety. I think it's 66% of people in our community have a library card. And my fun stat that I learned is that would fill up Autzen Stadium, not once, but 1.5 times, that we've circulated enough materials over, I think it's the life of the levy, to make 2 Eiffel Towers. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of books stacked on top of each other. So we have a phenomenal amount of use. That's not even including the folks who use online services, who don't traditionally visit, but who are downloading books off of Libby, or they've put the app for Canopy on their television and they're streaming movies all the time.
And people are coming in for different reasons, right? It's to get resources, but it's also to build community. You have folks that are coming into our library to hear author talks. You have folks that are coming in to engage in different programs like philosophy circles or story times. You have folks that are coming in to get help with their resumes and look for jobs. You have folks that are coming in to just sit in the youth area and be present with other teenagers in a safe and accessible environment. So the folks that are coming into our library, they run the gamut of folks in our community. So really, I do think that if you're thinking about accessible spaces in Eugene or in any community, the library will oftentimes represent a cross-section of the community that they're in.
I just started Coffee and Conversations. This woman talked about how she rearranges her work schedule so that she can come to the crafting at Sheldon at the downtown library, that her boss is really supportive. And she said, I really need those moments for my mental health because I am struggling here. I'm struggling in this community. And that's a place that I can come and do something like weaving a basket or coloring or watercolors, whatever it is, with a group of like-minded folks. And it brings me such calm. I mean, this woman is literally rearranging her work schedule to come to the library, and she was singing the praises of the folks at Sheldon, at the downtown library, who've expanded this arts and crafts night for adults. And I think about something like that and the impact it has on one person in our community, one thing that you wouldn't necessarily associate with libraries, but what an impact it makes to somebody. And you wouldn't know, just walking down the street, how much the library means to her.
I feel like every time I have a library person on the podcast, I hear stories like this. So glad to hear it. If there's somebody who does not personally use the library, what are a few reasons that they might still choose to support this levy?
what I really appreciate, and I'll say it again about this community, is that whether or not you end up using the library, you believe it has a value in our community. And that's where our values line up together, that we say, maybe this isn't for me, but I believe it's important. I believe now more than ever, we should support libraries. We should support the love of learning. We should support this last bastion of democracy. And whether or not you use it doesn't mean that you don't have to support the thing. And maybe it's the other side too. You don't use it. You don't want to support it. That's also valid. But I think folks in our community make that decision when they show up to the ballot box, when they show up to the library, when they talk to their friends, when they talk about what their beliefs and their value systems are. If a library lines up in your belief system and your value system, it doesn't always matter if you use it every single day. It doesn't matter if you pop in once every 5 years and you just grab a cup of coffee in the cafe. But it's that impact and that importance that's not just about you and our community, it's about all of us together.
What I will certainly say is that if you don't use our library, come use our library.
Well said. Well said from both of you. What would be the call to action after listening to this episode? What can Eugenians do?
I think that there's always a level to learn around civics and how the government works within any organization, whether that's writing your counselors, whether that's showing up at a march, no matter what you do, I think being involved, easier ways to get involved in kind of that is voting. You know, we're in a May election cycle. A lot of folks don't vote if it's not a primary election. Statistically, it's a very small percentage. But you can show up to vote, whether you vote yes or whether you vote no, just taking that act of your right as a citizen to show what you believe in.
Angela's absolutely right. Vote. Get informed. Get involved. I think that here in this community, we have a very unique culture, a culture of engagement. And I would say that if you are not engaged with your library, engage with it. Come see what's happening in our buildings. Go to the website and see what kind of resources that our community is providing to you. And then finally, too, if there's something that you don't see represented in the array of services and programs and materials that we have in the library, give us feedback. We're always open to feedback. If you're not a supporter or a person that is using the library, we want to know why, and we want to know what we can do better to support you. So I would say get involved, get engaged, and be present. I cannot wait to see how our community shows up around our library levy and how our community continues to engage with our system, our library system.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for being here. Appreciate you so much. And let's hope people get out there and vote.
Thank you, Marin.
Thanks, Marin.
To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Inside Eugene. If you'd like to learn more about the proposed levy and follow along as City Council discussions continue, you can visit the City of Eugene website, listen in on City Council sessions, or reach out to your City Councilor to let them know your thoughts. You can also stay posted on the Eugene Public Library's social media channels. And of course, you can vote in the upcoming election in May. Until next time, thanks for listening.